good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time you're watching this student athlete playbook video conversation, we say thank you. I am Barry Brown, author of the #1 book for youth student athletes and student artists, the Student Athlete Playbook, Success in the Classroom, Sports and Life. And like we always do, we bring on the best hosts, the best educators, the best parents, the best student athletes, the best student artists that are out here making a difference in the world. So if you're a youth service provider and you work with young people, we love to talk to you and get your perspective on the world, what our student athletes should be doing, and how we should be operating as adults, as coaches, as educators, as parents, as uncles, as nephews, as aunts and aunties. We're here to help our young people develop into great adults. And that's the purpose of the Student Athlete Playbook video conversation. Now, the organization, our nonprofit organization, is Youth Education and Sports. Yes. And we ask everyone to say yes to helping our young people grow into outstanding and productive adults. And today, we have some outstanding people here. Man, my brother, Mr. James M. Holloway. He is a transformational school leader. And my brother, Mr. Jefferson K. Cheek III, who is an elite soccer professional and consultant. So we're going to have a great conversation today. And Mr. Holloway, how you doing, my brother? How you feeling today?
I'm good. Happy to be here. I'm going to do something ethnic because, I represent Decatur, so I got to throw up the east side. I'm still professional, though. I still got a couple
Decatur, Georgia?
Yeah.
Decatur is greater.
Yeah, I had to throw that up to go to enliven this thing up because this is gonna get more hits than Cat Williams. We about to Cat Williams you right quick.
Sure. I love it. And yes, Mr. Jefferson K. Cheek III, how you doing today, my brother?
Outstanding. How are you all doing today? How's everybody out there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
yes, sir. Well,
I'm with James. I'm from the A2, so we're going to represent all the way from the A to Florida.
That's right.
Tell you all something good today.
That's right. We bring you back home. Today. Yes, sir. Well, listen, James, man, thank you for taking the time to be on here. Jefferson, thank you for taking the time to be on here. And let's just jump right into it. James, man, I met you in the music industry years ago, and we were working hard, and we were talking about this off air before we started the conversation, the live conversation, just the mixture between entertainment, sports, and then we're going to talk, of course we have to put education in there, so we're going to talk about that. But I want to ask you this. I know you are a master educator by far, because you wouldn't be in the position that you are as a principal right now. However, what made you get into the music industry? What sparked your interest in becoming an artist and being in the music industry when we were younger? What sparked that?
And we did discuss this off camera. I would say, just the pain of some of the things that I experienced as a kid. Growing up in Atlanta, being around a lot of people who ultimately, determined that the music industry was their career path. I had the opportunity to be around them and be in school with them. And, we were sharing, those stories of pain and perseverance. And, at the end of the day, suffering turns people or beings slightly savage, right? And so, you can take that perspective and you can channel it if you are gifted enough and if you are disciplined enough, and you can channel that energy into music. And that's the feeling of it. That's the non-commercial. When you hear it, it touches you, and that comes from any type of genre of music. And so, with that being said, music was just something that kind of directly connected with my pain. And it was easy for me because I needed to get it off. Back in the day, man, you didn't have all this therapy and, you know, all these 1-800 numbers where you could call everybody and talk about your problems, right?
That's true.
So, you know, you were either talking to your imaginary friend, your notepad, you know,
How about that?
You know, so, you know, music is the perfect outlet for getting some of those feelings off and being able to process them out loud, to answer your question. So that's
I like that.
how I got the music.
I like that. I like that, James. Yeah, when you several words that caught my attention, you talked about pain, you talked about expression, you talked about perseverance. How do we get that off the chest? And Jefferson, I want you to speak to this as working with young people in soccer, and then you being a young soccer player when you first got into soccer. When you start talking about expressing yourself and getting something off your chest, yeah, hip hop. If you go back to the birth of hip hop, when you start talking about New York and what it was expressing, that so shout out to Kool Herc, Africa Bambaataa, those legendary figures that were the foundation of hip hop. Jefferson, working with young people, how do you what you listening to music? I know you're not an artist per se, or never were an artist per se, but when you were young, getting into soccer, what music were you listening to as a young man? You know, when you were playing soccer and stuff, what were you listening to get you ready for practice or get you ready for a game?
Okay, so to piggyback off what you and James were just mentioning about pain, and James, what you said about, what was it?
Suffering.
Suffering, just suffering. Yeah, so suffering it turns you into a savage, right? That
Yeah.
art is art. Art is entertainment, etc. So soccer is art, fitness is art, football is art, music is art, right? Art is entertainment. These are all forms of entertainment that we do: music, soccer, etc. I listen to all types of music, all things from just all different forms of expression. Football is it? You played football, right? People play baseball, people play basketball, people actually produce art, right? I listen to things like all the Atlanta artists. I'm from Atlanta, so I listen to all the Atlanta artists: Outkast, Goody Mob, Jermaine Dupri, and all that stuff. I listen to Wu-Tang. I listen to all the New York stuff you mentioned. Kool Herc, Boogie Down Productions is my favorite stuff still to this day.
Boogie Down Productions.
Yes, I've listened to all of that, and a lot of, like, there were some metal influences, some other genres and other cultures, jazz, heavy metal, rock and roll, all that kind of stuff. So I was, and playing soccer, you're around a lot of different cultures, Latin Americans, all different world cultures. So you get exposed to samba music, different types of music. So I listen to anything that would help me feel free. And like as you said, James, that would take my mind off of my everyday things. So the music was a release for me and a way to ease my suffering. Like, oh, I'm running, I'm doing sit-ups. Oh, it's painful, but I got some music on while I'm doing it, so it's not that bad. Or they're playing music while we're playing the rhythm of the game. You can get moving, and you get things done in rhythm and in time because you're listening to music. It helps you just enter flow state and things like that. So that's how I answer the question. You asked me what I listen to and things like that.
What's that? Now, Jefferson, I know you're a little bit young. Y'all a little bit younger than me, but what talk about that flow state for a minute. What does flow state mean? What does that mean?
James, you want to go first? Or you want me to?
No, I'm gonna let you. I'll expound once you go.
Okay. Well, for me, flow state is when you're entering that era or that mode, as Plies would say. I'm in that mode. I enter that mode where it's uncanny. It's mindless. It's effortless. I'm not thinking. I'm just flowing. I'm just doing. But it's honest. It has to be like something that comes natural. It can't be. I don't know. For me, it can't be artificial. Like, it's just something that God gives you, and it's your God-given signal ability that you enter that, and it's your little zen, your little happy place, your little zen state, and then you get things done efficiently and etc. It's hard to explain that, but
I got you.
That's kind of what I mean.
I love it. Now I love it. You want to expand on the flow state, James?
Well, it's organic for the gifted, right?
That's the term I was looking for. Organic, yes.
Hold on, I got to write that. You said organic for the gifted. Is that what you just said?
Right. All people have gifts. And
Indeed.
when you enter that state, it's an organic state for your specific gifts.
That's better put than me. Yes, thank you.
And, that's what it is. So I think that sometimes we gifts can be diluted based on the level of politics involved in the activity, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes people have those gifts and they can't get into that flow state because their gifts aren't recognized. And if they aren't confident enough, right, their gifts get dropped to the wayside. So, I think, to have the opportunity to have the support to be in something where your gifts are allowed to enter that flow state, that's a magnificent thing. And that does happen with athletics and music and all art, and all people who have that thing, who have that gift, who have that organic ability to, enter that flow state and be one of the top, they fall into something where somebody takes the time to recognize their gift so they can support them. Because you got to have support to get there. And I'm pretty sure we're going to get into that. Again, top rated interview, Cat Williams. We about to get to it. Let's go, guys.
Hey, man, I love these student athlete playbook video conversations because of things like that. You learn new terms, you learn new ideas that you can take and use. And I hope the educators and parents are listening, because James, you just said something that's very, very important. You said our young people have to be allowed to enter the flow state where their organic gifts, and I say their gifts from God, are able to be used and expressed and taken to the next level. So we as coaches, educators, parents, remember what the visionary, the transformational school leader, Mr. James Holloway, just said. Hey, we have to create the environment to allow our young people, that means our own kids and our students and the student athletes that we work with, create the environment for them to go into this organic flow state where all their expressions can be put out there, all their talents and gifts can be used properly so we can achieve the goals that we have as a team and individually. Hey, man, y'all just taught me something. Flow state, baby. That's the new term, baby. I'm going to get down with the flow state. So let's move on.
Can I add one more thing to that? Can I add one more thing to that?
Go ahead, Jeff.
That what you said too was about creating that state. It's like it has, for me, what I try to do is try to create a judgment-free zone, right? Where people feel comfortable, like you were saying, James, to express themselves. And then you create the environment, like y'all said. Yeah, that's all. That's it. But yeah,
Oh yeah, that's important. A judgment-free zone is very important. So I love that. I love that you added that. Yes, sir. I love it. Organic space for the gift. Woo! That's dope, man. That's dope. So now, James, I know you was into music as a young man, but did you ever play a sport? Did you play organized sports as a young man?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I dabbled and dabbled in a few things. I was pretty decent, so did a little track, a little football, a little basketball.
What sports? Oh, a little. Okay, track football and basketball.
Yeah, I did.
You said you played track.
Yeah, 200, 400. Right. You don't want to see it in the 20s. Is a little bit lower, but
he's so good. I love it.
Man, I mean, was
Jefferson. So, that's what's up. No, that's good. Jefferson, what? I know you played soccer, but what other sports did you play growing up?
Oh, I was
I know you said you were born pretty much, but what other sports did you play?
Baseball, football, basketball, soccer, track and field was one of my specialties. I also did the 2 and the 4 in track and field. Love those events. I played hockey, even ice hockey a little bit. That's about it. I mean, some extreme stuff too. I don't know if you want to call those sports or not, but I dabbled in art and music. Yeah,
Yeah, they sports. What extreme sports did you participate in?
Oh, it's like, rollers, like back in the 90s, kids were like doing the BMX stuff and all the skateboarding and the rollerblade and stuff and all that.
Absolutely. Hey, man. Hey, we used to be on them dirt bikes heavy over there in Southwest Atlanta, man.
Yeah,
over in the wooded area, off Austin Road. Shout out to Red Low, the whole crew over there. Man, we used to be in them woods heavy, man, building little ramps. I said, matter of fact, I'm so happy we didn't break a lot of bones back there because we were doing stuff that was very dangerous. And now looking back on it, I wouldn't advise young kids to do it. Making those self ramps, man, you can hurt yourself pretty bad on them things, especially when you rolling over them and they collapse. So yeah, we were doing a lot of stuff. So I remember you taking me back to my BMX days. By far, the Huffy. I think we had them Huffy bikes. HUFFY.
That's right, Huffy's.
Yeah, Huffy, you went back a little bit. Yeah.
I'm definitely dating myself, man. Lord have mercy. Oh man. But that's what's
the mag wheels.
Yeah.
So James, let's talk about this for a second. Now, you love music and sports by far. You continue to mature. What influenced you to become an educator and then end up becoming a principal? Like, what, you know what I'm saying? So going from, I know a little bit about your background, but I'm like, man, wait a minute. This dude, when we reconnected and stuff, I knew you got into education, but I'm like, wait a minute. This dude went from making music, street music at that, to becoming an educator, and now he's a principal. Man, talk a little bit about that journey right there, James, and what influenced you to say, hey, man, I want to help educate the youth. How did that happen?
Well, I never said that, so I want to be very clear.
It was organic.
That was not a life goal. When I was growing up. So I'm not the, oh my God, I'm going to college. I want to major in the content. No, it didn't quite happen that way. Right. But I think man, I'm gonna say it like this. I grew up in an era where you had to know how to read. I don't care what you did. Right. So like you weren't gonna sit in school and not be able to know how to read and do basic math, because growing up in Atlanta back in the day, people had all type of odd jobs that they got into, and you had to read and be able to do math, to do, all of those odd types of jobs. And it just wasn't cool. I grew up and a lot of people grew up in Atlanta in probably the birth of the coolest time. Right. So it was like cool. It was like our abstract artistic thing where we were developing our cultural identity, for becoming, one of the places that, has really had a stronghold on Southern culture. Right. So it was like cool guys, and the girls were smart as they could be, and it was right at the time when people were transitioning from other places in the world to come to Atlanta. So, Atlanta was traditionally just people who came from the Sun Belt, right? So you got Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, people kind of transitioning up, but you didn't have a lot of people transitioning down and transitioning in, from the West Coast, right? So that culture began to mesh. You got smarter people, especially smarter African-American people, because the rules are different beyond the Sun Belt. And so I'm saying that to say, we got all these girls who pulled up in the school buildings and they were smart, right? I mean, smart, could talk, could read, could write, and they had that swag. And so, we doing our little Atlanta thing, wearing polo and all this, whatever. But they could talk. So for us to be able to communicate with them, and this is so shallow. It is, but so what? I was a shallow teenager like everybody else.
Right.
You're telling the truth. You're telling the truth.
Man. Yeah, you're telling the truth. That's true.
To have that conversation, to have, let's be, we'll be adults, right? To have a conversation of quality, you need to be able to conversate, right? And they weren't listening to that jibber jabber. So you had to know how to talk. You had to know how to read. It wasn't cool. Like back in the day, it wasn't cool to not know how to read. Like you had to know how to read. And so with that being said, people did graduate at a higher rate just because it was prideful to know how to read and be able to communicate and write a paragraph. Like that just was a thing,
Mm-hmm.
People were looking at getting jobs. Even back in the day, people are hustle, but they still have a job. It might be, hustling the block off, but they still changing oil at Jiffy Lube. It was some what you do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Right.
From that, man,
Right.
no. So from that place, of course, and playing sports, yada yada yada. The college thing came about because it was just a thing. That was a thing too. HBCUs and going to college for African American people was just a thing to do as well. Because again, all those cute girls were going to college. So we trying to do the same thing. And so just going to college, went and played around. Really didn't have a purpose in college. Graduated. Saw that life was harder than I anticipated because I didn't have a plan. And I'm pretty sure we'll get into how you transition as a person, as a human, to figuring out what that plan looks like for you individually. But no, did not have a plan. Was working 2 or 3 jobs and doing other things, messing around with the music and, got advice to minor in something in college. And I was like, what is it? Because, when you go to college and you don't really want to go, you don't know what a major and a minor is. Like, you don't really want to go. You're like, I'm just going to college kind of because everybody going to college. So we'll get into that when we get there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I already know what my major and minor is walking into the door, right?
Right.
But, once you figure out you can't major and minor in those things,
girl watching is not a major.
No,
go ahead.
not a major, not at all. It's fascinating. It's a little bit better than bird watching, but
better than bird watching. I would agree.
You say it's better than going to the zoo as well. But what I'm saying, shout out to all my beautiful ladies who went to HBCUs. You definitely were a very welcome distraction on every campus. So I want to say on the behalf of all the men, thank you for being a distraction for us. Okay.
So let me ask you this, James. So yeah, definitely shout out to our HBCUs because I wouldn't even be here without Clark Atlanta University, Clark College back in the day when my parents went there, but that's where my parents actually met. So shout out to Clark Atlanta University. For real. But now you said something that that's why I wanted to say this. Life was harder than I figured because I didn't have a plan. So Coach Williams and I, shout out to Coach Emory Williams, my partner with youth education and sports. We talk to our young people all the time about making sure that you have a plan. Like you can't get through our program and move on to the next level until you have that plan in place, be it going to college, be it going to a technical school, getting a trade and a skill, something that you will be able to generate an income from when you get out of high school and when you get out of your training. So that's what it's all about. I'm glad you said that you didn't have a plan at first, but obviously you developed a plan at some point in time. So start there. When did you decide that, oh man, I got to put a plan in place for after I get out of school? And what college did you go to? Let's shout out your school too.
Oh man, you know what? I'm going to get in a lot of trouble when I share this with people who went to well, no, I'm not, because I'm about to make it right. So I went to Fort Valley State. So I'm a Fort Valley State Wildcat. That's why I got my bachelor's. That's what started the journey for me. I was able to get through it. And it was difficult.
Shout out to Fort Valley. Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to Fort Valley. I think, man, economics, man, to be honest, man, and just to be truthful, I didn't grow up around Black people. I grew up around a lot of smart Black people, right? But I didn't grow up around a lot of Black people who were economically savvy, right? Who were able to fully explain to you the depth of what it looks like when you make this. Right. When you make this, you have this range of things that you can do when you make this. And there's nothing wrong with making this, but this limits what your convenience looks like. And those are the conversations that we still don't have to this day. Right. And so, at the end of the day, man, you go to college and you pick something you want to do, but you don't understand the economic range of that thing. That thing is, some things are limiting, right? Some of those things are really truly works of the heart, right? You know, you do it, you feel good, you know, and you can retire. But if you want to look at investing, it's not the right thing for you to be doing, right? And so I think by not understanding what economics look like, you know, I'm out here pulling for straws just like every other person who graduated from college and thought they had done something, right? Oh my God, I graduated college, I got a degree. I am the man, I'm the woman. Oh no, you're not, because economically you don't mean much because you don't understand how that machine works. And I think once you start being faced with the reality of that economic machine, you know, the sooner you get it, the better. The problem for us, and I'm just talking about for the people who I know who look like me. I don't know what every pocket of African American people go through, but for the ones who grew up where I grew up, those things weren't taught to us, right? And then when you start asking people who are at that level and they can't explain to you, you got to do a whole bunch of research. And sometimes research takes too many years unless you can get around the right sphere of influence. And that's the challenge, you know, that's the challenge. And so, you know, at the end of the day, that's what it was, man. You know, graduated college, thought I had done something. You know, life is hard, you know, when you want things. And you know, I saw I reached a whole bunch of economic ceilings doing 1 to 2, 3 things, right? And so education was attractive because, you know, it encompassed all the ceilings in one. Did I want to do it? Nope. But you know, economically, did it make more sense to do 1 job instead of 3 jobs? Absolutely, because then I get some time back and then I can go create, right? But you don't. You see what I'm saying? You don't know. And so that's what got me into it. And from the transition from that place to where I am now, I got the point. You know, at the end of the day, man, life is designed for people you get into things, right? As you change your levels, as you change your spheres of influence, you get into things where people are more influential than you, right? And they have a blueprint. They have a blueprint for what success looks like. You know, what we choose to do is rebel against a blueprint, right? And it's hard to rebel. It's hard to rebel.
You're right about that. That's dead on.
You know, why should you rebel against something that you don't even know how to write? You know, you don't know how to write codes. You don't know how to you don't even know how to order the paper that blueprint should be developed on. So how you rebel against a system that you don't understand, right? And because
that's brilliant.
And because we're prideful, you know, African American people are prideful because we struggle. Right. We've been oppressed, and that's not going anywhere. That's genetic. You know, that's lodged into our DNA, and because we're prideful, we choose not to follow the blueprint. So we choose to progress slower. And if you get it, your progression goes a little bit faster, right? And so I got it. At a point, I got it. You know, I got it. I got what it is. The thing that I do, I realized what it was at a point. I was like, oh man, this thing means that you get to influence people. You get to change lives. Right. And the more, the stronger that you decide to make your voice become, you know, the more people you get to provide influence from. Too, you know what I mean? And so that's how I got you. You know, that's how I moved from that to this, you know, all by, you know, divine selection, because I didn't ask for any of it. I didn't ask to be in education. I didn't ask to teach. I didn't ask to do leadership. I didn't ask for any of it. I was called. I received, you know, calls and the calling, you know, and I answered the call. You know, being fearless. You know, and that's kind of how it happened for me. No, I didn't.
I got it.
Yeah.
No, I got it. No, that was beautiful, man. Because watch this, James. We got some comments on here. So we're going to go to the comments. But, brother, I thank you for sharing that. The fact that you said, nah, this was never a dream of mine to be an educator and to become a principal. That was never a dream. You just got into the business and you became this. You were called and you answered the call. And now look where you are. And that's a definite message to the young people and to the parents, coaches, and everybody that's watching this video that, hey, sometimes your plan is going to take an alternate route. And are you going to be in a place to recognize that, hey, God, the spirit, the universe may be calling you to do something else. And if you answer that call, you may be pleasantly surprised on what happens to you. So I'm going to come back to something that you said too, but I want to go to these comments and see what we got in these comments. So we got, let me see here. Man, we got Coach Terry Bryant out of Lexington, Kentucky. Good evening. Good evening. Hello, Coach. Thank you for watching. I appreciate that. She is the head coach of a women's tackle football team, very instrumental in the football league. They were just down here in Atlanta, Georgia. I think about a month ago, playing over there in Riverdale. So shout out to Coach Terry Bryant in women's tackle football by far. Let's see here. We got a business partner. Yes, sir. Coach Emery Williams. Hey, he is out here making great things happen. Man, Coach Williams, thank you for everything you do for young people, man. A vet in the game of coaching, the vet in the game of developing you. So thank you for putting this out there, Coach. And definitely an awesome conversation right now. Let's see here. We have Sports Mom University. Having a plan for your life is crucial. That's great advice. See, they listening, James, and that's the key. We have to have a plan for our life. And because we have a plan, even if our life goes left to the right, because we have a plan, we can always get back on track because we have something to work from. I love it. Thank you, Sports Mom University. Let's see here. We have D3 Creative Group. Man, great conversation, great message. We thank y'all for commenting. We appreciate that. And we'll go back to Terry Bryant for a minute. Here we go. How do we stop? Why do we stop rebelling against the blueprint? How do we do that? Yes, we have to stop it. Jefferson, I want to come to you for a second with Coach Bryant's message here. And Coach Bryant, while we got you on here, I want to definitely shout out one of our student athletes of the year, her son, Ty Bryant, at the University of Kentucky, number 14, free safety. Young man doing his thing up there. We're very proud of him, and definitely tell him we say hello, Coach Bryant, as he gets ready for this junior season, which I know is going to be very, very big for him. So definitely got to shout out him. But Jefferson, how do we stop? We heard James mention it. How do we stop rebelling against the blueprint? Because that is true. We see a lot of young people that they don't want to follow any rules. They just want to freestyle everything. And hey, that's cool if you're a rapper and you're pretty talented and you don't want to write anything down and you want to freestyle. That's cool. But when you start talking about trying to freestyle your life, I don't know about that. I believe in plans. I believe in blueprints. So Jefferson, what's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that are, I think James answered it a little bit. He kind of said in an inadvertent way that acceptance is what we have to do to combat the blueprint, or to follow the, follow the blueprint, or I forgot. Anyway, you have to accept who you are, what you want to do, and accept yourself. This is the advice I have to take myself. I have to accept. We were just talking about this the other day, right, Barry? Acceptance is the hardest thing that we have to do. Accepting your condition, accepting that you are you, accepting that you have this gift, as you mentioned earlier. It's a gift. Accept your gift. Hone your gift. That's how I would do it. I think it's important to follow the footsteps of others. The wiser people who have come before you and blazed the trail for you. Speak to them. Communication is key. These are things that you have to develop and foster, maybe. But the idea of acceptance is what I would say. Just accept your condition, and then, as you mentioned, trying to change your condition for the better. I think life is about progression instead of stagnation. So always progress and try to move and try to find a blueprint, or if you don't want to follow someone else's blueprint, like you said, freestyle, but freestyle with a model in play. You can, there's not anything to me that's new or created. You might not be creating anything new, or you might be. but you can also reimagine someone's model or get inspiration from anywhere and modify someone's model to make it fit your own. So I think it's about modifications and accepting. It's just acceptance. Don't fight anything, but accept it. And there are some things you want to challenge, but accept even the stuff that you may have to challenge. I don't know if that's good advice, but that's how I would say that. It's kind of awkward.
I like that. Great question, Coach Terry Bryant. Great answer, Jefferson. Acceptance is the key. Accept our gift, accept ourselves, and we may stop rebelling against blueprints and plans. I had a student, and James, I'm pretty sure you probably have experienced this in education. I had one of my students, I was talking about thinking. I was like, hey, man, well, actually, it was a young lady. Hey, young lady, we have to think before we speak. We have to think before we act. And she told me something very interesting. She said, oh, my head starts hurting when I start to think. And I'm like, what? Your head starts to hurt? I said, okay, we got to talk about, we're going to have to go deeper with that because that scared me. So, Jefferson, I think you're correct. Once we accept our gifts, once we accept our talents, we accept ourselves, now we can move forward in a way. And I have to shout out to my brother Hazik with this positive affirmation that I learned from him. We all have to learn how to say, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough to go out here and put forth maximum effort to accomplish the goals and the things that I want to accomplish in life. So I love that, brothers. I love that. Terry, great question. Great answer. I think we got one more comment in here. Let me check that out before we move on, brothers. Let's see here. Boom. Coach Emory Williams. Here we go. This is from Coach Emory Williams. Uh-oh. I had it up there. There we go. Failing to plan is failing to fail. Wow. So if you do not put a plan in place, you're actually planning to fail. Hey, James, do you have anything else to expand on before we move on with this conversation? Or you want to say anything about the blueprint and having a plan in place?
I just say whatever you do, blueprint or nah, as the kids say. Make sure you do it authentically so you can be at peace. And that's another thing that you learn, and that I've learned, on the journey from the foundational level to a level of influence. If you do it as your authentic self, and it has to be a part of your plan, right? The reimagination that you just talked about, imagining the thing that's already there, that framework that already exists that might need to be modified. I think, when you reimagine it as an individual, you need to make sure you do it as your authentic, self, because people, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get, segue into this, doing all of these things that we're going to talk about, or that we are talking about, is because somebody decided to say yes to the dress, to your unique brand, to your unique individuality. Resumes, interviews, conversations of expertise all kind of sound the same. And so, one of the things to, set yourself apart as you do follow the blueprint, because you have to follow the blueprint if you're the boss, period. Right. Is being your authentic self. So people can say, hey, look, I want this person to incorporate them as a piece of the blueprint, because they do have that ability to reimagine, because they came in and presented themselves as them. This is what I'm getting. You know what I mean? I'm not getting this. I'm not getting that. I know what I'm getting day one. That level of transparency by incorporating, injecting, honestly, your authentic self in, the things that you do, in regard to progression, they do, they turn out to be very, very, very critical when it comes to the final selection and when you step into a role, because everybody want to do it, right? When you step into it, it becomes very critical because guess what you have then? You have experience. Because when you fight to be authentic, you're fighting. That is the small fight that you have against the machine. That is the small fight that you have against the blueprint, is continuing to be authentic. And I'm saying that because, I look like a rapper, but I'm not. You know what I mean?
Right.
You look like an intelligent person, James, is what you look like.
Right.
Tomato, however you slice it.
Right.
If we get into a conversation, when you're able to do it authentically, you feel better. You feel better doing it. You feel better supporting people. You feel better receiving support. Because that's that little thing that you get, and you don't get a lot in the professional realm. And that's whether you work for somebody or you work for yourself. It's rules.
Absolutely.
So, that's my take on it. As we talk, I want to make sure that we continue to express to everybody listening, do whatever you do and do it authentically. You'll be at peace, and there's nobody can pay you to be peaceful. I don't care what you make, it's not going, you can buy whatever you want. It's still not going to make it peaceful. Okay. It'll make it convenient and pretty, but it won't make it peaceful.
That's well said.
Yeah.
That's well, brother. You hit several things here. You said be authentic and be at peace. Money cannot buy authenticity. Money cannot buy peace. Both of those things come from within. And we were talking about flow state earlier. I also believe that comes from within, which all three of these things, peace, being authentic, is a part of the spirit and being connected to God. Because this happened about 8 years ago when we were saying, I was just looking at the state of education from around the country, visiting all these schools, speaking at all these schools, interacting with all these administrators and students and parents. And I'm like, man, what is going on? What is causing these young people to act the way they are acting? And it was what you were talking about just then, James. The majority of them are not being authentic to themselves. And the most important thing out of it, they're not connected to God. So when you're not connected to the ultimate blueprint, the ultimate source of how we're supposed to conduct ourselves, you'll be out here in the world doing whatever you think the world tells you to do. And we know with the advent of social media and all these different platforms, hey, you can be influenced to do a lot of crazy stuff. And that's following the ultimate blueprint and being authentic to yourself. Hey, man, thank y'all, brothers. Y'all, and you definitely not going to be at peace following the world's blueprint of craziness. It's not going to happen. It's going to be very difficult to find peace in that world. Man, thank you. Thank you, Jefferson. Thank you, James, for those beautiful, beautiful answers and statements. So now, James, let's get a little bit deeper with you, my brother. The Leverage Leadership Academy. Man, what is that? What should our viewers watching this video know about the Leverage Leadership Academy? Break that down for us.
It's a place that you can call home if you're looking to lead. I think it's grassroots. It's one of those things that I think great leaders are the ones who have learned how to follow and to serve, right? And so, we're grassroots. We're based in that, in following, understanding how to lead. We don't know everything by no means, by no far stretch of anybody's imagination. We're looking to learn from others, but we're looking to share our experiences with others too, to give them an opportunity to have an opportunity to be on that fast track. That's what I'm trying to say. I think that a lot of other people and other ethnicities, because they're given a different playbook in the beginning. Okay. And so, I think sometimes, once we get an opportunity to place our hands on the playbook, we should share it, right? Because
100%.
if you create, you can create. If you can invent, you can invent. Nobody's going to take that away from you. You don't need to be the keeper of any secrets or holding on to any knowledge, because, truly, you got to release one blessing to get another one. So whatever you think smart people, all these smart people who are watching this now, and all these smart people in the world, whatever you're holding on to, all you smart people, let that go and put something else in the tank.
James,
that's kind of.
Sorry, we owe each other. You said it. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Please forgive me. But we just what you said, we owe it to each other to a professor I had in school said we owe it to each other to share our experiences.
You do.
That's what you're saying to me. That's what I hear you saying right now. And that's brilliant, dude. And I think that's wonderful. So keep going. I'm sorry for interrupting. Thank you for letting me interrupt. I'm sorry.
14 promotions in the last quarter, right? 14. From some of the conversations we were able to have with people and, help them kind of dig a little bit deeper. And, it gives what we do, it gives us an opportunity to assess leadership qualities, right? Everybody has the leadership ability because most people who get into leadership or want to lead anything can read. So you have the ability to lead because you can read, digest information, you can take it and place it contextually into an environment and say, oh, I could do this thing, right? But that's theory, right? So we step away from the theoretical into the practical application of the thing in the conversation that we have with people. I think that is what makes us unique. You can go to any leadership company, and ask somebody to give you some consultative services about what leadership looks like in the school building, right? And they'll tell you, you got to do operations, you got to do testing, you got to do scheduling, but they don't tell you what things are the do's and don'ts. And they also don't tell you how to be polished when you want to enter into these things, right? You got to, when you want to do an interview, you need to be prepared to do that, right? If you're coming to me saying you want to be a part of my major corporation, and let's talk about it. And so, the educational institutions are major corporations, and I'm saying that to say this: financially, they are major, right? I can make a phone call, right? I can make a phone call and send out a calendar invite, right? Now I can send it out today, and by next Friday, I can have $1 million conversation. And the reason why I can have $1 million conversation is because it's that type of money in what we do, right? People are getting paid a lot of money. And if you call multiple people, you have $1 million, in a room at any given time, right? To go in those rooms and to be, credible to be in those spaces, you have to know how to talk. You have to know how to present. You have to understand branding, what the brand is, and, how influential you are going to become when you step into it. It's not a want. And when people come to us for our services, we let them know it's not a want. It has to be something that you are really, truly convicted in, because the sacrifice of time to learn the skill set that you need to do this successfully, you have to be ready to step into that and feel the shit. Because life changers do not get an opportunity to sleep. They don't get an opportunity to make excuses. They don't get an opportunity to do anything but change lives, and that's 24/7. Because once you understand it, you realize you have to give that every single day. And I think that's the reason it was created, because I wanted to give people an opportunity to hear something authentic and real about what leadership looks like. And you can start anywhere. You don't have to be the teacher of the year. You don't have to be a department chair. You don't have to do all of these things to give all this type of blood that people say you need to give, right? You need to go and do the work. And if you do the work in the classroom, you did the work. It doesn't mean you need another experience. Go do the work. You know what I mean? And that's what we preach, do the work, learn the work. And when you go to an interview, you can speak the work fluidly, eloquently, and seamlessly. Dang, I need to drink some water, but I can spell these words.
Yeah. Take a break and drink some water, brother.
I can spell these words. He said I can spell it.
But you
understand.
Sip of
water.
I got it.
I understand.
That's what we.
Yeah, I got no. Listen, James, you Jefferson had to stop you because hey, you speaking you're sharing very good information, brother, and it segues into what we're about to talk about next, which is work ethic. Because one thing at youth education and sports we're gonna do, we're gonna make you understand, and we're gonna encourage you to the best of our ability to put in that work. Coach Williams and I were just in California about 2.5 weeks ago. We took about 8 student athletes out there, and hey man, we talked about work ethic. And coach, if you're watching right now, one of them young men, he pretty much texts me every day right now. And he's putting in that work on the football field, man, getting ready for the season. And I'm just thankful and grateful we had those conversations out there in California about work ethic. So, James, you just said it. We got to put in the work to get done. But Jefferson, I want you to start off our conversation about work ethic in a second, because we have another comment here that we're going to go to from somebody's watching right now. So let's see what we have here. Oh, man, yeah. We got to go back to Miss Terry. Hold on. I'm clicking wrong here. There we go. She said, thank you for the shout outs. Great show. Yes, ma'am. You're more than welcome. And thank you for what you're doing. And I know you and Coach Williams have spoken recently. So we got to follow up with you and make some great things happen up there in Lexington, Kentucky. So we'll be coming very soon to do that work up there when we start talking about doing some work. So you're more than welcome, Terry. And thank you for always supporting. Thank you for always watching. And we appreciate you by far. So now check this out, gentlemen. Work ethic. Jefferson, you had to put in a lot of work to become a top level elite soccer player. You had to put in a lot of work to learn how to train youth and young adult soccer players. I want to know this. Where do you believe you got your work ethic from? And why has it become so important to you as just a part of your lifestyle? Because you look great, man. I know you're older now, but I mean, you look like you can still run around with these young soccer players and run for days out there on the pitch. So where did you get the work ethic from to be able to do this?
The work ethic comes from, it started at home, I would say with my parents, who instilled and my family members who instilled a strong work ethic in me of simple. It's as you said, James, do the work. I learned as early in my life, 7-8 years old, that if I don't get out of bed, I'm not going to make the money. If I don't do my homework, I don't get a good grade. And I wanted I wanted things. I wanted toys. I wanted clothes. I wanted everything. These are poor motivations for a lot of people. Maybe the wrong motivations. But I learned that if I do this one thing, if I make my bed today, it's made when I get in it at night. If I get one little win, if I can just get one win today, like get up, do my little push-ups, brush my teeth today, whatever it is that I can do correctly, that's one win. And you compound your wins. And as you compound your wins, next thing you know, winning becomes something that's just, it's a lifestyle, as you said. And work ethic becomes a lifestyle, and you just compound your work, and everything just builds and builds and builds. And then you learn, and your mind becomes a computer, and you just fill it with information. And then you're able to regurgitate that information and access it as you need to use it. And you find the more I do, it's like the rule of 100. They say, if you do one thing, the first time I do something, I'll be terrible at it. The 100th time I do it, I'm going to be that many times better at it. Right. So if I do it twice, I'm better. If I do it 3 times, I'm better. If I do it 4 times, I'm better. And that's how I train. That's how I train myself. That's how I train players now. It's going to require some pain. There's going to be some days when you don't want to get up and go to work, when you don't want to get up and go to school, when you don't want to do the work, when you don't want to deal with your person or whoever else you want to deal with, but you have to do it if you want to call yourself doing the work. And everybody wants to be that stand-up guy, like these athletes and these people, their business, like yourself, who created a business from nothing, but you can't say you're that person and not do the work, because you'll get exposed later on. You see, When somebody's going to come back and say, well, Jeff, you're not that, I'm 44 years old. If I want to call myself an elite soccer professional, I have to be able to express that when you see me with a ball at my feet and you say, Jeff, can you juggle 100 times? Yes, I can. Can you run a circle like that? Can you do everything a professional can do? Yes, I can, with confidence. As you mentioned, James, we're going to talk the lingo. We're going to talk the jargon of the whatever it is we're doing. We're going to make sure we speak with confidence. So, I'm the guy, right? I think I'm the best player in the world. I know I'm not, but I think that I am. I have to have that kind of confidence. If I don't think I'm good, who else is going to think I'm good? If you don't think your brand is the best brand, who's going to buy your product? You've got to believe it. If I'm going to obtrude myself on some other place or promote myself to another person, I have to believe what I'm promoting. So if you don't believe in yourself, how do you expect other people to believe in you? So the work ethic comes from that. I gotta believe in myself, and I'm going to be the best version of myself. And you have to do that honestly. And it's okay to fail. You're going to fail. That's what learning is. I have to fail in order for me to learn. I think you mentioned that earlier, James. You can't learn unless you did the work. So that's a long answer, but I'm sorry.
That's a great. That's a great answer.
I think that's the work ethic stuff. So I think you have it can be learned. Anybody can learn work ethic. I believe that. You can and it can start it in. It's never too late to start work ethic. Start today. It's discipline, but you got to stick to it. And it's discipline. So, and how can I say? I'll leave it with this for that. The work ethic part of it is just it's effort. It's just effort. If you put in any effort, the minimal effort, you're going to see a reward on the back end or some type of result, cause and effect. If I do this, there's something on that. If I do a push-up, I'm going to get stronger. If I eat this food, my belly's going to be full. If I take a breath, my lungs will be full of air. But you have to do that in order to have yourself fulfilled, So, and God gives you the strength and ability to do these things. So that's it.
No, that's a Jefferson. Let me tell you something. That's a great response to where you got your work ethic from. Let me just recap for a second. You got it at home. You got it from your parents. The parents,
school teachers, anybody who would give it to me, anybody who would give me the blueprint. I just followed other people's blueprints of work ethic.
I love it. You see, hey, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. James Holloway, Mr. Jefferson Cheek III are dropping jewels. They're telling you the secrets. You say you want to be successful. Here it is right here. Hey, listen, learn, put in the work, and you will be amazed at what happens to you. But do not believe, and then I learned this in the music industry, do not believe you can actually literally go from your couch to MTV or to BET Yo Raps or whatever, 106 and Park, and not do any work. It's almost impossible. So literally, you want to go from just sitting down doing nothing to being the greatest thing since sliced bread without doing any work. It doesn't exist. It doesn't work like that. Life does not work like that. So Jefferson, thank you for saying that. And let me hit on something. You said work ethic helps you compound wins. Work ethic helps you compound wins. That means those little everyday wins build up to big wins. That's awesome. I love that statement. Go ahead, sir.
You know how people always talk about athletes and he played such a great game. He had such a wonderful game. The work was done in practice.
Hold on, wait a minute. Did you say practice? Are we talking about practice?
We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. The work is done at practice.
It is.
Absolutely.
Practice.
Nobody ever was like, we're talking.
Shout out to Allen Iverson for that. Shout out to Allen
You're
Iverson.
welcome. You're welcome. There it is, right?
There
Do the work. You gotta practice. Practice makes perfect.
Absolutely. We got let's see the comments. And any of you all that's watching, if you have a comment, for Mr. James Holloway, or you want to make a statement or ask a question, please put it in the comments and we're going to definitely check them out. Let's go to the comment section right now and see what we have here. We have Sports Mom University. They say, answer the call. Ooh, answer the call. So that goes back to you, James, earlier when you said, hey, man, you were called, you answered the call, boom. You got an education, something that you never thought you would be in. And now look at where you've taken it. Look at how many lives that you have helped and that you've influenced in a positive manner. So, hey, guys, answer the call. Thank you for that statement, Sports Mom University. That's excellent. That's absolutely excellent. James, you want to talk about the work ethic? Where did you get your work ethic from?
I think that was genetic too. I just feel like it was in there. I don't know. I have a lot of people in my family who, have done, great things. At least to me, it doesn't matter what they did to the world. I feel like they did something great, so they were good role models, right? And I think that's just kind of looking at them. I had a lot of strong women in my family, a lot of strong ladies, man. And I think by seeing how strong they were, because they grew up in a different generation. So the rules for them were totally different, right? Some of the disrespect that's tolerated and allowed, or, the back and forth disrespect and stuff like that happens now, it didn't happen in those days. They were subjected to be disrespected and have to deal with it and keep moving and still keep being successful. They had to go through a different type of emotional suffrage to be successful. And I do I have to say I do have a few women in my family who are my relatives who did things like become doctors and dentists. So that does have that piece of academic endurance and discipline attached to it, right? So yeah, I think that's my work ethic came from. And then on top of that, I want to say this about practice, right? And I don't believe that losing is okay. I don't. Like, I just what it is, what it is. I think I think that's a disservice when people tell that to people, like, losing. No, it's not okay to lose. That means you go to practice and you don't practice hard, right?
Agreed.
The harder you practice, the closer you get to winning and understanding what winning is that you understand how much you can make your opponent suffer when you practice hard, because that's what causes you to win. And if people don't prepare, life is competitive, and they must suffer. Suffers must happen for people who aren't prepared to play the game, because that's what this is, right? So yeah, I think, just in general, and I don't know why the phone is ringing, but I will get it in a second. So we're gonna try to work through it, since it's live. So let's act like the phone is ringing, everybody. But no, I think that work ethic established through having a winning mindset. That's what turns you into a champion and beyond, because it's different. It's different levels of it, right? So you have people who want to win. You have people who learn to win. You have people who win, and then you have people who decide to become champions. And then from that, you get elite athletes. But all of it starts with foundationally understanding that you have to show up to practice. When you answer the call, you got to pay the phone bill so you can pick up the phone, right?
There it is.
Right.
You can't pay the phone bill if you're not doing what? Working. Somebody is putting in work to give you what you need so you can pick up the phone and answer the call. So, that work ethic comes from wanting to win, and it's winning for you. It's not winning for everybody else. I think individuals who become extremely successful at winning, they want to win for them. The hardest and the largest challenge they're facing is the opponent they look at in the mirror every day, because that person is never perfect to them. They might be perfect to society, but they're never perfect to them. And I think that's a burning desire with successful people, that they just want to. It's just something that you can't. It's hard to explain, And Jefferson, it's hard to explain, that thing that turns on, when you refuse to be denied the opportunity to win. And that creates a work ethic that can be described in words.
Would you call it just standards, that you have a certain standard for yourself, James, that you uphold? That's what it is? Would you say it's that? Because I kind of feel like it's that with me. It's like there's a certain standard that I have for myself, and I always want to work to that standard. And at minimum, I'm going to work to this standard. And once I get to my standard, anything above that is a bonus, right? But you have to have high standards and establish high standards. So that's to I guess comment on what you just mentioned about hard to explain there. That's kind of how I explain it, as having a standard to work towards no matter what. And sometimes my standards might rub the people the wrong way because it's like you said earlier, it's not their standard, and they don't want to put in that level of effort.
No,
but
I like
that's
that,
where
Jeff.
people differ. That's where people differ, right? And it's okay, like you said. Well, go ahead, Bear. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, well, imagine a world where we were all the same. I think James hit on it.
I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that.
Yeah. So I don't even think that's a good thing. So being authentic, going back to y'all statements about being authentic, I think that's what puts us in the line of what kind of standard. I like that, Jeff, because I believe we all have to have some standards. What kind of standard do I have for myself? And then how hard am I willing to work? How smart, how strategic am I willing to work to keep that standard, raise my standard, and to achieve the goals that I have set for me and my family or my team or whatever it may be. Whatever I'm leading or whatever I'm a part of, what am I doing to be authentic, to have my standard, and to work toward accomplishing my goals? I think when you have those three things in place, your road is a little bit clearer because you actually know what you're working so hard for. And then I'm going to add this last piece of that. You have to have that why. Why are you working so hard to accomplish these goals? What is your why? So my personal why are my daughters. So I'll get up every day. I make it happen because of my daughters. So I believe you have to have that why in place, which will drive your work ethic to a whole nother level. Because imagine this. Imagine waking up every day and you have no reason to wake up. Let me say that again. Imagine waking up every day and you have no reason to wake up. That's a scary thought, isn't it? So we're hearing crickets right now because everybody thinks. So why
everybody's thinking about it.
If you don't have a why, I think that's a problem with your work ethic.
I agree.
That's just my personal opinion right there. But that so I mentioned that to segue into this next thing I want to ask y'all about. We're talking about children. Now, James, I know you have children. What activities do they participate in? And before they were born, did you have a plan? Did you and your wife did y'all talk about what you wanted to instill in your children? Did you have a blueprint, a vision for your children?
No. Man, hey, this is what I'm gonna say. For anybody who is a parent on here, if you say yes, you are not telling the truth.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Because you do not. You think that you want to bring humans into this world. That's what you think, and then they get here and you have to break the glass because it's going to be a multitude of emergencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So no, I didn't have a picture. I didn't even really, again, man, that's one of those things I got called to do. Because right. I had some other intentions,
Of course.
You know, I just was gonna focus.
Hey James, this is a PG show though, brother. But
No,
I understand
no.
what
No, I'm saying I was gonna focus on purpose. I was purpose.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
We focusing on purpose. So,
yes, sir. That's what they call it these days. I like that though. Go ahead.
Purpose.
Go ahead.
Intentional purpose.
Yes, sir.
But no, I didn't have any, I didn't have any preconceived whatever. The only thing that I started thinking once I knew they were here, once I knew they were here and weren't going back, like you couldn't send them back to where they came from.
No, you can't do that. Yes, sir.
You can't put them back in the bag and be like, hey, get up. But you want to.
Exactly.
Yes, sir. That responsibility, man, is something that, it's hard to describe because it doesn't sink in. It takes some time for it to sink in. And what you might have been thinking that you wanted for children and your family, when you connect it to the world and make it generation appropriate, which we don't do now.
Correct.
We don't connect, our new world to the new normal of what the kids are going through because we don't ask them how we feel, even though we should, and I do now since I'm kind of learning it a little bit better. But no, I didn't have a plan. And honestly, man, I still don't have a plan. I think the plan that I have now for them is just to love them. Like,
I said love.
Love them.
Yeah,
that's my plan for right now. For right now, my plan is
wonderful plan.
It's a wonderful plan, brother.
Yeah, man. Be present in the moments, man. Like, for example, I think that we get caught up in being progressive. I mean, it happens with people who claim to be successful, right? We got caught up in spending all this time with trying to be successful, put all these man hours in. And for the people and children are truly people that love you unconditionally because they don't know. They don't know how not to. They don't know. They don't have any implicit biases, right? You are just the person that gives them fruit punch and honey buns, and that's important, right?
Right.
That's all they care about. You get that type of love, and you got to get into that. I think especially as men, and I'll say it because I think I'm a man's man, and I'll say that,
absolutely. I agree with that.
You know what I mean? And I'll stand on that. But at the end of the day, I'm in the fruit punch and honey buns because I like seeing them smile. I'm saving. When we go to the movies, I got a book of my movie receipts because those are the things I want them to remember, right? Like I want to remember, those larger moments, when you go to this, you go to that. But I want them to know that we went to the movies and I remember eating popcorn. Like I wanted them to tell those stories because that speaks of love and care. What did you say? Do they do things? Do they participate in things? Yeah.
What activities do you have them? Sports or activities you have them in right now?
Now he's done everything. So he did soccer, basketball. He just finished up flag football, and he wants to get into martial arts because I do Muay Thai. I don't think he's quite ready for that, but we'll see. I think the first time, it's all good. Somebody hits you.
Oh yeah,
so that helps. Martial arts helps with the mental discipline.
Mike Tyson got one of the best quotes of all time. Yeah, all that bravado and all that talking is cool until I punch you in your face.
Yeah, it's all good.
You're absolutely right.
So he's got that going on, and she does dance. So she dances with the Atlanta dance company or whatever the one is, and they do like the big recital. So yeah, they're into things and they're just having fun. No pressure right now.
Right.
Pressure. No, you have to be an elite athlete. No, you have to do what I did. No, you're not doing it right. It's go have fun. If it's for you, it's for you. And at a point, once I see them developing in certain things, then we'll make a decision together to say, look, you're pretty good at this thing. Look at this video. You're pretty good at this thing. Do you want to continue to doing it? Do you want some additional support in doing this thing? But right now, no, man, it's just love, man. I think, that's a fleeting thing in society now. It's just, loving things that you create, and you don't get a better opportunity to create than making a human. I'm just saying, you know, I mean,
Absolutely.
And that's what we're supposed to do, right? Isn't that what we're all supposed to do here? Is that our ultimate purpose? You said purpose earlier. That's the ultimate purpose, right?
Yeah, at least by the Bible from the birds and the bees, it is. I mean, so.
Hey man, listen, hey, James, you're absolutely correct. And let me just recap that segment, brother. You said the word that should permeate through all society. The world would be a better place if people do what you just said. Hey man, I'm going to love my children and I'm going to be present with my children. Now, my youngest daughter just walked into my office, just walked into the studio just right now. The why I was just talking about a few minutes ago, one of them just walked into the room. So when you start talking about loving them, hey, brother, a lot of times that's all we have to do. When you start talking about being present, that's all we have to do sometimes, be present and positively active. I'm going to add that part to it. Be present. Well, here you go. Love, first and foremost, and be present and positively active in their lives. And we'll be amazed at how far we can help our children go in their own lives as they start developing their own personalities, developing their own ideas on what they want to do with their lives. It's not our lives, it's their lives. And love and being positively present and active will help them accomplish that. Hey, man. Hey, brother, y'all, James, Jefferson, y'all breaking down some beautiful stuff, man. I tell you that. So here we go. Jefferson, I want you to do this because you deal with, I want to start with you. You deal with a lot of young people. You see a lot of things in your travels, in your work. When you see our current youth, and I'm talking about middle school, high school, even elementary school, we can go down to elementary school too, but youth, elementary school, middle school, high school, and college student athletes and student artists. James, you just talked about your daughter, your young daughter participating in dance. My daughter, my youngest daughter, Aubrey, she participates in debate. Just got back from Harvard International Debate Competition. What do y'all see, man? What do y'all see with these young people in your goings and comings around here locally in Metro Atlanta, Georgia, and Jefferson? You're based out of Florida. What do you see with our young people? What would you describe what you see?
Well, without trying to sound like an old head or somebody who's washed and retired, and just an old guy.
Right.
No, what I see with the youth is, one, they're smarter than I think anybody gives them credit for, right? Mm-hmm. And they have technology at their fingertips. They can tell you things that we can't even. Kids now today have tools at their disposal that I couldn't even fathom. So they're a little sharper than I think people give them credit for. Anybody of a certain younger age, anybody under 20, right? I would say. And also, I think that they have these wonderful minds for innovation and change. And if we were to listen to these people, like our models, the old, like people that are older than me and in between, everybody's model, everybody thinks their model is right. Their blueprint is correct, right? But if we were more open-minded to what the youth can bring and offer, I think it would help society, because they're the ones that are going to have to endure this, not the older people. I think we've got it backwards. We kind of let the older people make the decisions because the older people are supposed to be wise, but just because you're old doesn't necessarily mean you're wise. Young people have wisdom as well, right? And we need to let them impart their wisdom on us too, and maybe they can change the world. But I see them as wonderful, wonderful people. And I think, as you said earlier, just to go back a little bit, love is not control. And older people often try to stifle young people and control them. And y'all are you understand what it, like, as a coach, somebody told me you don't have to do that. You can just have to foster them. Don't control them, but foster them. help them, direct them, but do not limit them. And so I try not to limit anybody. I just want to help you prosper, just like you would help a plant grow. You want to feed it good things and good nutrients so it grows to be a wonderful tree or wonderful, strong plant. And that's what you want humans to be. You want them to be wonderful, strong people. So you feed them accordingly. Garbage in, garbage out, right? So you put good things in them so they come out to be wonderful people. That's kind of how I see the young people, is a tree to be grown, a tree to be watered. And if you water them with the right things, they will grow. So
I love it. I love it. James, what do you see out there, brother? What do you see with our young people? You in education. You see these young people every day in your profession. What do you see, brother?
Lack of connectivity, to be honest. I think
like human connection.
Yeah, I mean, just knowing how to, I'm a big and sometimes I get a little bit of pushback, or sometimes I give pushback. It's either or, about understanding how to be generation appropriate. I think that at the end of the day, the voice of the generation, people have been saying that for a century, and there's a reason why people have coined that phrase, right? The voice of the generation does drive how the world moves. I mean, we're only, responsible for a small percentage of what kids think and do once they get at a certain point, right? Once they get, 10, 11, they're making decisions, right?
They say, James, that psychologically most people's mind only develops to the age of 8 to 10 years old. And they stay those people up until they're 40, 50, 60. They're the same people, just in an older person's body, but their mind is still making the same rational decisions that they made at 10 years old, right? A lot of people, if you don't control your mind and things like that. Go ahead. Yes, I'm sorry for chiming in, but thank you.
No, I mean, okay. So touche.
No, I don't know if that's true or not, but I've read some things about that, and I think you might be onto something with that as well. I'm agreeing with you, as I'm not trying to get you off point or anything. I'm sorry for interrupting, but you were saying, yeah.
I mean, you can knock me all off the point if it's about purpose, but I'm saying, I agree, and I'm gonna tell you why. So I did some research a little while ago, and it was basically on that same thing about how people age mentally, and so that's actually accurate. And the reason why that's accurate, some studies have shown, this isn't been extensive or all exclusive research, but some studies have shown that people stop developing cognitively at that age because something happens in development where they have some type of bond with trauma, right? And so wherever that bond lies, if it isn't fixed, like if they don't have an opportunity to process and fix that bond, then that's why they stay at that numerical mental age. And sometimes they might have a great childhood, and that trauma bond happens at 16 or 17 or 18, and people just stay at that place because they haven't done the work to get bound from the trauma, right? But now that's hard. So we can't mess with that one because that's hard. Sometimes you don't know you need to be, you don't know you need to take the trains off. Other people see it, you don't know it, but yeah, to support, to give you some supporting artifacts with your statement. There is research that shows that people don't transition mentally, to higher ages because they have some type of bond with trauma, and they haven't been able to fix it. They can't solve that problem, so they age, physically, but not cognitively, and that's something. When you got a 40-year-old, 10-year-old, what do you do with that? But we see that. We see that in a lot of work environments. When you see these people throw these spontaneous tantrums, these spontaneous adult tantrums, right? And everybody needs to come to their rescue. That's not an attention-seeking thing that a mature adult would even require, because nobody's gonna come to your rescue. But those people are still bonded to that type of trauma. So yeah, I think that's it, man. I think listening to them, understanding where they are, understanding that they need and deserve to be respected. I think a lot of people, and this happened in their generation, my generation, everybody's generation, when you got to a certain place, adults felt like you didn't deserve any respect, but you do. You know,
Right.
you're,
Correct.
you do have an opinion. You know, you might have a quality response. You know, you do have the right to speak how you feel if you have learned words, and that's at any age, right?
Correct.
Yes.
You know, you have to get that respect that's age appropriate at every level, right? You're not going to respect a 5-year-old the same way you respect an 18-year-old, but they still deserve respect. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
And I think that now this generation, what I do think is that when you become disrespectful, you are going to be disrespected. Like, period.
They're gonna let you know, huh? Yeah, they're gonna let you know.
They don't feel disrespect because they have social media, right? And the social media is an atrocity, and it's damaging society because it's front loading information that nobody can tell people how to use in proper context.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
It messes with the context of how you're receiving the information.
There you go. So, you know, you get it, but contextually, that's not how that thing works. And that's why people and humans are still needed and necessary. But to answer your question in short, I think it's connectivity. I think that we need to listen to what they say because they know they have more time on their hands to figure out what's going on, right? They bring it back. You know, adults become CEOs of life. Right. Everybody brings everything back to you. You know, they bring the data back. They bring the metrics back to you. This is what's happening. This is what's going on. You know what I mean? And you sit back and you look at the reports and then you get upset, you know, when they made a numerical or clerical error, but you didn't decide to go out to invest, you know, in what, you know, you were the CEO of. And I think that's what it is. You know, we got to stop acting like CEOs. We got to get out the office and get back you know, outside with the people. We got to be out there with them. We got to be building with the kids. We got to be learning with the kids. We got to be talking to them. We got to be giving them the floor so they can express some of the things that we need to know about them that's going to make all of us better for each other.
Woo! Man.
Leading by example, James. Leading by example. I love it.
James, you mentioned the word. Let me go back to Jefferson for a minute. So Jefferson talked about, I see innovation. I see new blueprints are being developed by our young people. Young people have wisdom too. You just mentioned the lack of connectivity, meaning us connecting to them connecting to us as people older than elders, so to speak. You mentioned generation appropriate, meaning how do we appropriately talk to this younger generation? How do they appropriately relate to an older generation? Then you hit the big whammy: respect versus disrespect. Young people, older people. Here's the key to all this, in my opinion, because when I learned this, I was totally shocked. The key to all this is personal development. And when I learned the fact, this is a fact that can be researched, that the average person does not read another book after they leave high school, through graduation, through getting kicked out, or dropping out. They do not read another book for the rest of their life. So right there can explain lack of connectivity, lack of innovation, not having a blueprint for their life, not having any wisdom, and being very disrespectful because they're not developing as a person, because they're not reading, they're not having a conversation with anybody else. And then you add social media, the technology that's developing at a rapid rate, where there are some people that don't even want to interact with humans. All they want to do is stay in technology and hide behind a keyboard. So, James, you're absolutely right there at the end. We have to be outside. We have to get out into the field and connect with Mother Nature, but also each other. And brothers, I think y'all hit on it tremendously. So before we get ready to close out, we have to connect with each other. We have to understand how to connect generation to generation. And we absolutely have to show respect and earn respect with each other, no matter what age you are. And we have to continue to be innovative in our lives, because when we do that, we just create a better place for and with each other. Hey, man, y'all dropping dimes out here, man. And listen, we got some comments here. Let's go to these comments right quick before we close out of here. But, man, I'm just very, very impressed with the answers. We got Coach Terry Bryant. Let's hear. Let's go. She got two of them on here. Let's go to the first one. Say it again from the people in the back. The work was done. Practice. Absolutely, Coach Bryant. You better believe it. We bust our behinds at practice. So when we get in that game, we can show out. It's just like in the classroom. A lot of young people talk about, I don't take tests well and all this stuff. Yeah, because you didn't prepare for the test. All the homework assignments, all the classwork that you were supposed to be doing, you do that leading up to the test, up to the exam. So if you did all the work prior to the exam, you would do better. Point blank, period. Then, let's hit this one on Coach Bryant. Social media gives too many the courage to say something they wouldn't dare say in person. You absolutely right, Coach Bryant. You absolutely right. Those keyboard gangsters are serious. And I tell you, real talk. Hey, I ain't from the streets, but I've been in them streets. And let me tell you something. In a minute, I tell somebody, hey, man, where you at? Wait, can we pull up? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's real talk when people have to face somebody face to face versus being online. It's totally different. And I agree with you 100%. They would not dare say it in person. And that's one of the things that I believe James Jefferson speak to this when we start talking about the disrespect and the lack of respect, because people are very, very disrespectful online sometimes. And it is affecting us in real life. James Jefferson, y'all have something to say about what Coach Terry Bryant has said?
Bullying's not cool. And it's just not, it's not cool to, if you don't, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, where I was taught this: if you don't have anything nice to say about anybody, don't say anything at all. Right. And I always seek the positive. So she's dead on, Coach Bryant, for sure. And yeah, just be kind. Just be kind. It's easier. Your life is easier if you're kind to people. So.
Excellent. James, you had anything to say? I mean, you don't have to say anything you don't want to, because y'all have said a lot, but
I'm just like the kids, man. I'm gonna pull a page from the kids. I don't speak on keyboard gangsters.
Yeah. There it is. Hey, shout out to Biggie, man. Biggie say, you know what I'm saying? Bad boys move in silence. I'm just gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna leave it right there. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Coach Brian, thank you for those amazing comments. Real talk. So listen, gentlemen, as we get ready to finish this thing up, two more, one thing, and then we're gonna close out. Important is our young people, student athletes, youth in general, to display good character at school, good character in the community, and definitely at home. How important is that in y'all opinion? Jefferson, we'll start with you. How important is that for our young people to display good character in all facets of their lives? Because I'm going to say this, and this is going to incriminate me a little bit, but I remember in high school, literally, I believe back in the day, people could be two different people at the same time. You could be one way in school, and you can be a totally different person out in the community. I totally believe, because the cameras that we have now running around, nobody's walking around with cell phone. Nobody can take a picture of you at the mall doing something inappropriate. You had to get caught by somebody physically doing something wrong, and that didn't happen a lot around my friends. So what are y'all thoughts on this as far as displaying good character in all facets of our lives, specifically talking about our young people?
All right, so I got a couple things.
Yes,
One
sir.
is the story of the little boy who cried wolf. If you know that story, the
Yes,
little
sir.
boy who cried wolf was of poor character because he cried wolf all the time. Then when he really saw the wolf, no one believed him because he told lies all of his life. So if you want to be believed, if you want to have a valued opinion, or people to believe your word, or people to value what you say, if you want to be a virtuous person, someone who can be trusted, relied upon, then you must have what they call integrity, which in my definition of that is, this is what I define character as, being a person of integrity, which means I'm doing the right things at all times, even though no one's looking. This is how you might stay out of trouble with the law. This is how, if you follow principles of such nature, you might stay out of trouble with many, many people and many street things. Your principles may save you. So character is all you've got, if you ask me. That's all you've got is your character. If you choose to be of poor character or of bad character, the movie Scarface, you ever seen the movie Scarface, you kids around? It's kind of a hardcore movie, but if you watch it, it's got some good messages in it, and it'll say, Scarface says, all I've got is my word and my backbone, pretty much, you know? So
Right.
that's all you've got to stand on in the world is yourself and your word. And if you taint that, it's hard to get it back. It's hard to get the trust back once you burn the trust with people. It's very difficult to reestablish that. Everybody remembers what you did. Nobody remembers what you did right so much, but they definitely remember when you go wrong, you know,
Woo!
or when you tell them no or something like that. So I think character is very, very important. It's in my opinion, it's all you've got. It's the most important thing to be of good character. But that's
gotcha.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you, Jefferson. That's good.
You're
James, how do you feel about that? How important is it for our student athletes, our young people, to display good character in all facets, at school, at home, and out in the community?
You know, it's critically important, just because, you know, perception is reality, unfortunately.
I like that.
I mean, you know, what you present is what people have to go off of, right? And it's on people to figure out initially who you are. But the first thing that you can do as a person is present something to them, you know, to hold on to, because they're going to look at whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, because you will be judged. I mean, you know, we can act like, you know, we got to address that elephant in the room. You are going to be judged, right? Wherever you go. So, you know, with that being said, you decide, you know, what perception you want to be reality for people. And then I think, you know, beyond that point, you know, the proof will be in the pudding. You know, the work will show after the initial presentation. But, you know, people say it all the time. Presentation is everything. It's how you present. It's how you walk in. You know, it's how you demand or command respect or disrespect, because you can get both of them by the way you step into a room. And I think understanding infrastructure and the political framework of athletics and business, you have to understand that, you know, you need to present well. You know, when people are going to invest in you, you need to be worth their investment. And part of that is understanding how you need to present their investment, because that is a thing, right? Presentation is attached to all things when you, you know, when somebody gives you an opportunity to present, that presentation is attached to it. And so especially spending, money on you, and that's foundationally when kids get scholarships, they're being placed in positions where, people are paying them for how they present. And that's why, everything breaks loose when you see one of these star athletes and they get caught up with making a bad decision, because that's not it's not that they made the bad decision. It's the fact that you did not present well. You don't understand the rules of presentation. And so something that you said got my attention, and I want to challenge your school of thought and everybody's school of thought on that. Back in the day, the reason why people behaved in environments like schools is because they had more rules than society. You could go home and be who you wanted to be because it was less rules in the neighborhood, right? The school had rules. It was a certain standard and an expectation that you had to live up to, right? And if you violate it, you're going to get in a lot of trouble, right? But it's never been like that in the neighborhood. The neighborhood has always been a neighborhood. So I feel like the people were who they were in the building. The rules in the building were different. And so now, since we don't have those rules in place anymore, now people just act the fool inside and outside of it. That's it. The people, they weren't two people. It was the same person who wanted to act the fool. It was the same person. That didn't change. They just had less rules when they went to the neighborhood. That's it. And we didn't know. We were knowledgeable of how that component of the brain worked back then. See, we didn't know that people were who they were. We didn't understand that. Oh goodness, they know how to put it on. No, they weren't putting it on. It's just a larger consequence. If you act a fool in this school, you're gonna get this. You're gonna get this paddle.
There will be consequences.
There will be. There shall be.
The corporal punishment was real, brother. Yes, sir.
See what I'm saying? And think about it. Even back in that time, if we were faced with the single family parent epidemic, even at that time, the kids who were faced with that and the families that were faced with that type of challenge, you didn't have anybody who could provide any extension of consequence when you got a neighborhood, because it's still the same thing then like it is now. They had to go to work or they were missing, right? Same thing. It's just the schools can't hit anymore. The schools cannot
remove that
consequence, right? So, it's that society change. It's not the people. That's just my opinion, but who am I?
And that's it. Listen, you're dead on. And what you said too is important. I think that people have to change with the society. Your character has to change and grow, like you said, with those things and these changes that are happening, right? Good luck with that. But that's
good luck with that. Right. Yeah, we're gonna have to stay prayed up on that. But no, James, you explained
work
it.
on that one.
I think you explained it. Beautiful. It's almost like Coach Williams and I talk about all the time. The game ain't changed. You know what I'm saying? The game ain't really changed as much. It's the players. The players change. So if you look at the NFL game, of course, rule changes. Like we talked about, they took corporal punishment out. But football is still football. Baseball is still baseball. Basketball is still basketball. Yeah, the rules have changed. There have been some changes and stuff over the years. The style of play, all those different things. However, it's still basketball. It's still baseball. It's still football. So education, same way. It's still education. They're just taking some things out, put some other things in, and the kids change every year. Every 10 years, there's a different kind of kid per se because of society. But how are we going to deal with that? And you just explained some great ways to do it. Jefferson mentioned some great ways that we can deal with the whole climate of youth, sports, education, entertainment, because they're all intertwined. They're all intertwined. So we as leaders, we as parents, we as just adults, it's our responsibility to teach our young people in the way that they should go and connect them to the positive and productive things of the world, because they're going to get the negative stuff automatically. With the way the internet is set up now, with the way we have things, social media, they're going to get the negative stuff by far. What do we do to implement the positive and productive things that they need in their lives to grow into positive and productive adults? So before we close out, I want to hit on some things that y'all mentioned. James, you hit this on earlier. Investment. Hey, man, everybody has to invest in themselves. All parents have to invest in their children. That's just not a monetary thing. That is actually an action word. Investment is an action word. That's a verb. That's an action word. So we have to invest in ourselves and invest in our children. And also we have to learn how to invest money. James, you talked about something earlier as well. Speaking of money, financial literacy. What do we know about money? How do we move money around? How do we circulate money within our family, within our community, within our city, state, county, all that stuff, nation, world? We have to become financially literate. James, thank you for bringing that up. Then Jefferson, one of the more powerful things that I wrote down from what you said today was work ethic helps you compound wins. Man, that's a powerful statement. Those little wins every day turn into big wins, which is compounding, which is exactly what we want to do with our money. We want to generate compound interest, which takes us over the top financially, and as we learned today, with our work ethic. Hey, man, beautiful stuff, gentlemen. Beautiful stuff. So as we get ready to close out today, Jefferson, we're going to start with you, Mr. Chief. What would you like to leave on the minds of the student athlete, the student artists that are watching this video, the parents, and of course, the coaches and administrators, the educators, the adults that are watching this? What would you like to say in closing out this amazing conversation that we've had today?
Just to be authentic, as we talked about earlier. Be your most natural self, your God-given self. Be respectful to everyone you speak to and encounter. Mm-hmm. Even animals in the universe. Be respectful. Be grateful. Be thankful. Mm-hmm. Be kind. And what'd you say? Make this, as you said, what did you say my little quote was? Make the small wins go. So that's a habit. Balling is a habit, you know. So mm-hmm. I make winning a habit. I'm like, James, I don't like to lose. All we do is win over here, you know. So we make this a habit, and that's it. Make your positive life a habit. Seek the positive in all things. Everything is solvable. If you have a problem in life, it's solvable. Remember that, and just conduct yourself with class and pride always. That's it. That's all I got.
Wow. I love it. So we have a comment here. Let's check this comment before James. Where James goes, and let's see here. Let's see. We got Coach Bryant. He says, "What a great show! Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your wisdom and your commitment to our youth." Coach Bryant, thank you, and we appreciate you for everything that you're doing, and we thank you for watching this episode of the Student Athlete Playbook video conversation. So now, James, as we finish up, my brother, what would you like to leave on the minds of the student athletes, the parents, the student artists, the coaches, the educators, the adults that are watching this video?
First I'd like to say, thank you for the opportunity to even be on here, to be heard as a voice of influence. So that's the first thing I want to say. So, thank you for everybody listening. We're going to get to the Cat Williams going viral in a second. But first of all, thank you. We don't say thank you enough. We don't say, I love you enough. We don't show, any type of humble servant leader attitude in general. And we need to do that. We need to bring that back. That's something we got to bring back. Tell DJ to bring that back. Run it one more time, DJ.
Run that thing back.
Yeah. But I think ultimately though, I think we as a society, and this is something for kids to kind of take in consideration. I think we as a society, we want to control 100% of the outcome of everything we do, and that's not realistic, right? You can't control 100% of the outcome. You have to take the risk. You have to be willing to believe in you and bet on you, right? The thing you can control though is your effort. So you can't control 100% of outcomes, but you can control 100% of effort. You want to walk away from everything you do with knowing that you gave 100% of your effort. If you decided to do it, if you say it, if you signed up for it, you do it. With 100%, and you don't look back, and you take the risk, and you be vulnerable, and you be brave to take that risk. I think also coupled with that, I think people are oversaturated in perfection. None of us are. None of us will be. Here now or forevermore, we won't be, right? But again, with that being said, I think it's not about perfection. It's about completion. It's about completion of the thing that you said you wanted to do. If you have a goal, if it's a task, you complete it. So the first thing is of course being 100%, give 100%, effort, and then to make sure that you complete what you begin, because that's just what you should do, and know that you won't be perfect. And I think from that is consistency. So, consistency and belief, that's going to get you there. Nothing happens overnight. Life is long, a lot longer than people anticipated to be. And so, you have periods, of life purgatory, because you haven't decided to be consistent in your purpose. And you have to be consistent in that purpose, to live life and navigate through the waters, because it's sharks out there. So I think that's it, man. I think 100% at all times, 100% effort. You can control that, right? You can't control the outcome, but you can control the effort. You won't be perfect, but you need to complete whatever it is that you sign up for. You don't have to do it twice, but you need to do it one time really, really, really good, right? And then you have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. You have to be consistent in believing in you. You are the difference. You make the difference. You are the winner. It all comes from within you. And if you decide to win, ultimately, that winning attitude would turn into, leadership for oneself and others. And then, once you get to that place where you build up a body of experiences, then you can have conversations with people and you can share those things. And you have the opportunity to provide, a Cat Williams viral moment like we about to get into. Once people see these great words and this, they have an opportunity to listen to the great conversation that we have had, the pleasure of having today, which I'm thankful for. But those are the things that I would leave with everyone, just to take in consideration, because this is hard. Life is hard. Being a decent person is hard. Those things are hard, and they don't come with a manual.
No, they do not.
So, right. I think the more we join together and have, these quality conversations amongst each other, the more powerful we'll become. And, we can keep telling DJ to run that back, because, we'll be sharing the information and not holding on to it.
Woo. Share the information and not hold on to it. Well, gentlemen, in that spirit of gratitude that Mr. Holloway just spoke about, James Holloway, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time to have this great conversation today, the Student Athlete Playbook video conversation. And I've enjoyed it tremendously, learned a lot, man. I have a whole sheet of paper of notes I took while we were talking today that we can run it back, like James just said, and we can continue to expound upon in our daily interaction with young people, coaches, other educators, and the whole nine. So again, I want to say thank you. Now, Jefferson, if anybody get in touch with you about soccer training and speaking with you about coaching and consulting, how do they get in contact with you? What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Best way to get in contact with me for soccer is my Instagram is beachfront cheek, at beachfront cheek, or you can just hit me on Facebook, Jeff Cheek III, and I'll get you some training videos and some information to get you trained up, or just some words of inspiration. If you just want to talk and have some words of wisdom with a fellow mind, we can share some experiences. I'll talk to anybody. I'm open to anybody. So this is just free therapy out here for everybody. It's free conversations, free game. This is just, hit me up. If you want to call me.
Okay, say it one more time.
Public
your
record,
IG, your Instagram is what? Say it one more time. Your Instagram?
Instagram at beachfront cheek, and Facebook, just Jeff Cheek III.
There it is. I love it. Mr. Holloway, they want to enroll in the Leverage Leadership Academy. They want to become a better leader of themselves and others. How do they contact Mr. James Holloway, the visionary?
Well, my narrative on that is going to be slightly different because the game is to be sold, not told. But with that being said, though, seriously though, we do answer up to 3 questions if people send us a text or email us. So they can send a text to 470-388-9004, and you can ask us a few questions about leadership and good decisions you might need to make. Of course, leave your name and kind of give us some background, and we'll get back with you within 72 hours. That's 470-388-9004. Or you can email those questions to imakeadifference16@gmail.com. That's imakeadifference16@gmail.com. If you are truly interested in the work and the true consultation, then make sure you send this phrase to the phone number or the email, and it's I want to lead. So, free game. You can text your questions to the Gmail address or the phone number. If you really want to get into the work and you really want to have a quality, courageous conversation, text or type. I want to lead to imakeadifference16@gmail.com or 470-388-9004.
Hey, there it is. Today, you have heard from Mr. James M. Holloway, the visionary, Leverage Leadership Academy, and also the elite soccer professional and consultant, Mr. Jefferson K. Cheek III. And I am Barry Brown, author of the #1 youth book for student athletes across this country and the world, the Student Athlete Playbook, Success in the Classroom, Sports and Life. We have the journal and the facilitator's guide locally here in Metro Atlanta. Visit Madu Bookstore inside of Greenbrier Mall. And you can also visit Nubian Books out in the Morrow, Georgia area, the South Lake Mall area. At Madu Bookstore, you'll be speaking to Sister Nia. And at Nubian Bookstore, holler at my man Marcus, and they'll make sure you get everything you need to get. And also, if you want to order online across the world, boom, go to Amazon.com, type in the Student Athlete Playbook, and everything will pop up for you. We thank you for watching the Student Athlete Playbook video conversation featuring Mr. James M. Holloway, Leverage Leadership Academy, Jefferson K. Cheek, the third, soccer extraordinaire, professional and consultant. Youth Education and Sports is the nonprofit organization. And we thank you. And we'll see you next time on another great episode of the Student Athlete Playbook video conversation. And we're going to leave with this theme for today. Love. Love yourself, love your children, and love others. One love. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.